Welcome everybody, I'm Mike Trokia and accompanied by my teammates Amir Ahmed, Kevin Probert, and Chelsea Wren. This is the Logistician Magician's presentation on the ultimate method to handle all the logistics of World Artistic Furniture's table and chair combination deliveries. Please be aware that just because magic is in our names does mean this solution is magical and will knock your low planner socks off. Without further ado, please sit back, relax, grab a drink, if of age of course, and enjoy the show. To help aid certain aspects of our presentation, we utilized a certain method to give the show the stabilizing structure it needed. That structure is also known as the Six Sigma DMADV method, which focuses on and also stands for defining goals, measuring quality and surrounding standards, analyzing opportunities, designing main and alternative models, and verifying the results, as you can see from the customized diagram. The reason the colors are mixed is to show how each phase branches into and connects the prior and future steps together. This method was used throughout our presentation, where applicable, and aided in the metaphorical connecting of the dots from concept to creation and ultimate proposal fruition. Packaging. So important, we had to create a special box just for the chairs. Now, before I can get to our desired packaging scheme, I must discuss the general coverage strategy employed for our products. So the goal is to produce a package that would not only transport the materials efficiently, but also properly shield them to prevent damage, save monetary funds, and minimize harm to the environment. For the tables, the packaging scheme chosen was the $50 cardboard packaging option. This choice gave us the most optimal price, safety, and met the effective volume and weight requirements for the given container utilized. Now, for the chair packaging scheme, we devised our own unique method to package each chair successfully for each stage of the journey. As you can see, going clockwise from the top left, we have the chair designs in the following order: skeleton, chair with cushions, and chair with cushions with protective film and packing peanuts. Say that 5 times fast. We will divulge this more in the next slide, but corrugated cardboard was the primary component utilized, with plastic material, film peanuts used as protective film. So, this method essentially involves a 5-chair stack that maximizes usable space. As one can see from the pre-cushion setup side and front view, the chairs are stacked on top of one another to form a stable unit and maintain their original form. The blue in the diagram represents the chair itself, the purple represents the plastic film packing peanuts, the red is the advanced cardboard packaging material, and the green is the packaging material for the void space. The premise behind both the pre- and post-cushion setups is that the chairs are stacked so that the length and height increase incrementally, based on the dimensions of the chair itself. From this, quality is preserved with minimal risks imposed from the secure packaging. Back to the design, the width is assumed to remain constant, as the chairs slide directly onto one another. The main difference between the pre- and post-cushion setups is the pre-cushion setup has an extra layer of plastic film packing peanuts about 3 inches in total thickness to occupy the minimal empty space from where the cushions will be installed upon. Otherwise, both setups use the same sized and fitted box, which have the half-inch cardboard security barrier around the outside to pack everything in nicely. Once these boxes reach the second leg of the journey in Cusco, Peru, Phase 2 may commence. Moving on, this phase involves the installation of the seat cushions in Cusco, Peru. By doing this, not only are costs saved, but we may now employ and examine the post-cushion chair setup. As mentioned before, this setup is nearly identical to the pre-cushion setup, except with the extra layer of packaging film peanuts removed and replaced by the 2 inches of cushion. Looking at the diagrams, the blue represents the chair itself, the purple represents the plastic film or packing peanuts, the red is the advanced cardboard packaging material, and the green is the packaging material for the void space. This time around, the addition is the yellow, which represents the much coveted cushions. The purpose behind this was to save resources, as one would not want to have to remake a box for a change one stage into the multi-step journey, right? Additionally, the box is eco-friendly and fully reusable, so further order shipments may be utilized by this box as well. This setup is now made use for the remainder of the trek to the DC in Pennsylvania, and holds together quite well if set up correctly. From this packaging scheme, continuing where the prior slide left off, the production process should flow smoothly and easily from the sophisticated, easy to handle, and consistent chair packaging design. The product end uses will not be hampered and will remain in pristine condition, ready for all customer dining purposes. Now that the packaging for the material has been explained, we may now converse about the containers lucky enough to occupy this superior packaging. Over the course of this project, many packaging shipment schemes were considered, but only one method seemed to be most appropriate and made the cut. That method would be utilizing a 40-foot container. So, in order to determine this, several calculations and deliberations were set up before finalizing our decision. First, we determined the volume and weight of each table, chair, with and without cushions, and chair set, with and without cushions as well. Then we determined the maximum occupiable volume in 20, 40, and 45-foot containers. Then we considered palletizing the loads to make shipments easier. We ultimately decided against it due to the costs of palletization, loss of space, and the fact that the table and chairs are already pseudo-palletized in the packaging themselves. But the pallets will later be used to provide a cushioning or buffer layer within the 40-foot container. That being said, we devised a method to satisfy the table stacking requirement as well, which simply involves loading the bottom of the container with chairs, followed by a layer of pallets, and topped off by a layer of table packaging. Basically a giant wooden cake, really. So by putting this formula to work, the weight limitations were satisfied easily, and it became apparent that the size limitation was the main blockade here. Seeking to maximize usable space, we were able to stack the chair sets, pallets, and tables respectively as such. 8, 8, and 16. 80 chairs total. The full details behind these calculations can also be found in the appendix section. From this, not only were we able to satisfy the minimum requirements and weight limits, but we had excess space to add 4 more table sets and 6 more chair sets, 30 chairs total, if costs would allow. As mentioned at the beginning, the alternative packaging schemes for the 20 and 45-foot containers were computed in full. It can also be found in the appendix for all those curious, as these substitutes do satisfy the minimum requirements as well, but were ultimately not chosen due to save monetary funds, primarily. Once we receive the word from upper management, we will be able to test the 40-foot container loadout and other choices to verify our results and switch, if the need presents itself. For now, the packaging mission is accomplished. Off to transportation. Still with us? Good, because we have some more thrilling content to talk about and involves anything and everything related to transportation. The goals for this phase of the journey are to transport our goods in a way to save money, time, and minimize CO2 emissions, as we are a green company and strive to do our very best to aid the environment. As you can see in our diagram, locations, means for travel, distances, and emissions are explicitly pointed out. The coloring around the names and text represents the distance and CO2 emissions for that specific phase of the journey. So, now the diagram has been explained, let's begin. So, our journey begins in Manaus, Brazil. In order to move our tables and pre-cushioned chairs along, a freight truck was designated to move the material via the 40-foot container from Brazil to Cusco, Peru. The distance for this phase of the journey, in green, was found to be 2,383 kilometers, with CO2 emissions of 148 kilograms per metric ton. Next, after the chair cushions were installed in Cusco, the completed chairs and tables could move on to the port of Peru. So, this leg of the journey, once again by truck and given in blue, came out to be 1,156 kilometers and emissions of 72 kilograms per metric ton. Lastly, partly because the whole trip could not fit on a single slide, once the container reaches Callao, it can be transferred via container ship to the port of Balboa, Panama. This leg of the journey results in the longest distance so far, given in yellow-orange, at 2,483 kilometers by sea, with the lowest emissions at only 20 kilograms per metric ton. Not bad. But anyway, now let's move on to the next phase. Picking up from where we left off at the port of Balboa, the ship continues onward through the Panama Canal to the port of Colón. Now, this is a relatively short journey compared to the rest of what has happened thus far and what is to come, and is given by the pink box and is only 79 kilometers and has CO2 emissions of a mere 1 kilogram per metric ton. Once the canal is cleared, the dash to the United States can be done. So, the journey by ship, given in brown, amounts to 3,626 kilometers and emissions of 29 kilograms per metric ton. During the land portion of the trek, impacts to quality were anticipated to be minimal and mainly deterred by hazardous road, rail conditions, and theft. But when the journey shifts to ship, the products must be able to withstand forces from nearly all directions, pirates, yes, ARG, and other threats as they are transported across the ocean to minimize endangerment. Luckily, all of this was considered in the packaging scheme to preserve product functionality and allow the manufacturing team to proceed with operations as normal before passing the goods along to the ensuing phases of the value chain. Now, all that's left is the final leg of the journey in the United States. It is finally time to complete the trip. Without further hesitation, once the container ship arrives at the port of New York, it is loaded onto a rail car and transported via rail to Allentown, Pennsylvania. This journey, given in yellow, amounts to 165 kilometers and CO2 emissions of a mere 4 kilograms per metric ton. For this step, the alternative mode of transportation, truck, was considered to minimize costs, but the negative impact to the environment was deemed too high and rail was ultimately chosen. On to the last slide in this section, summarizing the journey. The payload has finally reached the final destination. Yes! What's left? Time to celebrate? No, not yet, as the top diagram on the screen represents a synopsis of the entire route the cargo has traveled on. That being said, the total distance traveled was 9,728 kilometers, and the total CO2 emissions came out to be 273 kilograms per metric ton. From this, the cargo was delivered not only efficiently and effectively, but safely as well. The bottommost diagram represents precise route information, modes of travel, and emissions produced directly from our online calculator. For all route confirmations and calculations, please refer to the appendix for more details. Additionally, as discussed in the previous slide, different route options were considered for each phase of the journey. For instance, in South America, rail was considered but not selected due to the incomplete rail paths in the country. Maybe they'll be ready someday, but not yet. Also, air freight was considered for shipment from South to North America, but was not chosen due to trip time constraint being effectively met with the current modes of transportation and anticipated high costs from air travel. That being said, the given route will be tested once upper management gives us the requested approval to see how it pans out. From this, it may become apparent that trucking from the port of New York to Allentown may be more cost-effective, or even air travel may be more efficient between countries, as there is always a disconnect between theory and the real world. Whatever the case may be, we will make any necessary changes, but our best current estimates are right here and ready for battle testing. Otherwise, onward we move to the cushion installation process's nitty-gritty details.
So where the seat cushions will be installed on the chairs. So we have decided to install the seat cushions in Cusco, Peru, where the cushions are manufactured. We have four main reasons as to why we find it advantageous to install the seat cushions in Cusco, Peru. The first reason is that since the seat cushions are manufactured to the exact seat specifications in that area, the workers who made the seat cushion would have a better idea on how to properly fit the seat cushions on the chair. Secondly, the cost to install the seat cushion in Peru is cheaper than having them installed in the United States. Our third reason will be to eliminate unnecessary packing by not shipping the cushions as separate pieces. Lastly, we are able to reuse the same packaging for the chairs after the seat cushion installation, since we have configured our custom-made boxes to account for extra space needed for each cushion. So let's get into our costs. First and foremost, sustainability and sustainable packaging is pretty much our top priority for World Artistic Furniture. Since we are sourcing sustainably harvested wood from the Amazon, we think that is crucial for us to have an end-to-end sustainable operation. Our costs have been divided into four main categories, which is packaging, transportation, installation, and customs. Insurance would be covered separately later on in the deck. But with our budget of $6,000 per shipment, it is crucial for us to not exceed the allocated amount and also plan with sustainability in mind. Our packaging costs will be calculated separately by tables and chairs. Our transportation costs will be broken down by route, which are Manaus, Brazil to Cusco, Peru, then Cusco, Peru to Port of Newark, and Port of Newark to Allentown, PA. Our customs cost will be based on two regions which the container will be transported to, which is Cusco, Peru, and Allentown, PA. And lastly, our installation costs will be to install the seat cushions to our chairs. Okay, so for our cost calculations, we have made it right under budget with a total of $5,885.86. So starting first with our packaging total cost for our tables, which all costs will be incurred in Manaus, Brazil. We will be using the first option in the case study to package the tables. This option will add 30 pounds to the total table weight and allows the tables to be stacked 3 high. Each packaging cost will cost around $50, and with a total of 8 tables per order, the total will be $400. For our material packaging costs for our chairs, that cost will also be incurred in Manaus, Brazil. The packaging material costs associated with the chairs will consist of the box and the packaging film protectant. The box is a double wall corrugated box which will be able to support the tables stacked on top of it. Based on the configuration of a similar box we found on Uline, we have basically created a custom box with our logistics provider in Brazil. The cost for each box is the same as found as the cost on Uline, which is $13.06 a box. And with a total of 16 boxes for our shipment, for our 80 chairs, we will need, so our total cost would be $217.16. Next is our packaging material cost, such as the soft foam pad to protect the chairs. The soft foam pad is 1 inch thick and will be laid out on each chair with the following dimensions: 24 inches in width, 24 inches in length, which covers the backrest of the chair and the bottom of the chair. Since the chair is stacked 5 high inside the box, we will need this protectant. So we'll be sourcing the packaging material from Uline. For all 80 chairs, we will need to evaluate the total cost, which we calculated to be around $454 with how much foam roll we need for each package. Our total packaging material cost would be $671.60. Next is our labor costs. So our first labor cost would be in Manaus, Brazil, for packing the boxes, and our hourly rate for a packer in Brazil is $6.87. Since the box weighs 91 pounds each, this will require 3 packers to load a box. And since each chair takes 5 minutes to load, and we have 80 chairs, this will take 6.66 hours, with a total cost of $137.26. For our labor costs in Peru, since the seat cushions will be installed on the chairs in Peru, repackaging costs will occur. Since all packaging is reused, the total cost will be the same for all packaging materials. The actual costs of loading, unloading, and removing the chairs from the box and repackaging them with the seat cushions is based off the hourly rate of a packer in Peru. Similar to Brazil, we will have 3 packers in Peru to unload and remove the chairs as well as repackage them. The hourly cost, however, is quite different, with a total of $3.80 an hour per packer. So to pack, unpack, and repack each chair would take approximately 10 minutes, so the total time would be 13.3 hours for all chairs. And with 3 packers, the total labor cost would be $152. Next is our installation costs. So since we decided to install our seats in Cusco, Peru, since it proves to be more efficient and economical, we have designed our packaging to fit the additional weight and the dimensions of the chairs with the seat cushions. And so the cost to install each seat cushion is $5 a chair, and with 80 chairs, it'd be $400. And lastly, let's go into our transportation and customs cost. So we decided to go with a 40-foot container to load all our furniture, and we've sourced a logistics provider in Brazil who will help us to ship it to Cusco, Peru for the first route. The provider is Bertling Logistics, who have a head office in Manaus, Brazil. The quote received for the route was $250 for all total costs, and we put an additional $50 for surcharges. And in regards to customs for Peru, Peru has specific customs specifications as it is part of the World Trade Organization and World Customs Organization. Since our product will be assembled in Peru and then shipped out, the shipment is not taxed as per the regime of temporary admittance, since the product will be eventually exported. Next will be our ocean freight shipment from Peru to the port of Newark. Our container will be shipped with I-containers from Cusco, Peru to the port of Callao and loaded on a cargo boat to the port of Newark. The quote given by I-containers is $2,890, including any surcharges and customs fees. And our last transportation route would be from the port of Newark to Allentown, PA. Once the container reaches the port of Newark, it will be loaded onto a container rail and shipped to Allentown, PA. Our quote was from Trans-American Express for a total of $900 plus a $35 chassis rental. And that pretty much sums it up for all costs. And so if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.
Cargo damage. A research shows that in general, less than 1% of products in the carton sustain damage. However, in the furniture industry, the property damage claims can reach rates of up to 6%, especially for the oversized furniture. 20% delivery arrived damaged. Based on the percentage, it shows that the damage is highly related to the size of the shipment package, which leads to our first possible causation, pallet building and load configuration. Even if a shipment is loaded properly, it can still sustain damage if the products were not packaged properly in the first place. Sometimes it's because the cartons may be too weak to hold the products securely, or the weight of the product didn't distribute evenly when loading. The second causation is related to environment, humidity, and temperature. Research shows that package corrugation is 71% weaker in a high humidity environment. Extreme heat can cause parts to become pliable, and extreme low temperature can cause materials to become brittle and degrade. For wooden furniture, constant rapid temperature fluctuation from hot to cold would cause wood to distort and expand. That may damage the functionality and the structure of the furniture. The third causation is poor handling. Employees had failed to properly and safely load, stack, and secure the freight. According to transportation expert, one reason is that there is pressure on the driver for production, so they often do their job too quickly, which leads to damage. Another common cause of load damage by handling is operator using lift trucks for the wrong applications. The fork is designed for picking up pallets. However, operator will try to pick up loads that are too heavy, which can cause the load to topple. We find 3 possible solutions to reduce damage. Since it's hard to manage the size of furniture, the material of the package and the way to pack products become the keys to damage control. Using partitions and other packing materials to separate and cushion the products from inside the box, providing more durability and better crush resistance. The primary package material is corrugated cardboard, which comes with varying fluid pattern as well as wall thickness to protect product with more strength and stability. Pallets and package should be inspected to make sure they are in good condition and strong enough to support and secure the product. The second, if a shipment stays with the same transporter from start to finish, instead of 6 to 8 touches by different carriers, It will not only speed up delivery by 65% lead time reduction, but also dramatically reduce damage claim rate. The last solution is to provide training for handling and the loading operator to balance between productivity and safety. Inform carrier for special handling requirements if necessary. The list on the right is a short guidance of how to handle damage-free. Cargo insurance is extensive protection against damage. There is difference between liability and insurance. To make a liability claim, the carrier must be at fault for the damage. However, if the damage is from inadequate packing, loading errors, or weather-related causes, the carrier will not be responsible for the damage. Additionally, if the damage is not noted on the delivery receipt, many carriers will deny any liability. In many cases, the shipment may have a higher value than what is covered on the included liability. If so, this is where additional freight insurance may be purchased. Cargo insurance covers transit carried out in water, air, road, and rail. There are various of cargo insurance types and policies. However, not a single standard form of cargo insurance that can buy and be fully protected against a common law liability. Therefore, it is important to know the aspects included and excluded in the policy. Under all risk coverage, included aspects are damage due to inappropriate packing, infestation, cargo abandonment, custom rejection. Free of particular average coverage excludes partial losses to the cargo or to the hull, except those resulting from collision, heavy weather, sinking, burning, or theft. Another important aspect of this clause is that the shipper does not pay for minor losses and is only held liable in case of significant losses to the cargoes. The third coverage is general average, which we have already covered in the class. It requires all the other cargo holding owners on the ship to pay compensation to damaged cargo owner. The major benefit of buying cargo insurance is to avoid the risk of suffering a financial loss if the goods are lost or damaged during transit. It also gives you more control over insurance terms, the insurance valuation, and the limits that are adequate to meet our needs. Many times buying cargo insurance is a requirement in the contract. It will increase the company's credibility from a buyer or a financial bank perspective.
In total, we estimate that the time from the initial customer order to its delivery to be between 45 and 50 days. All aspects of production are expected to take 14 days for completion. From there, it will take 3 days for a single truck driver traveling 2,383 kilometers to take the product from Manaus, Brazil to Cusco, Peru. Tables, chairs, and seat cushions will be consolidated in Cusco, Peru. The product will then be traveling 1,156 kilometers over 2 days from Cusco to the port of Callao. Here we have factored in 3 days free time maximum before the container is loaded and the vessel sails. Using Hapag-Lloyd's shipping schedule, we have estimated that it will take between 14 and 16 days to travel from the port of Callao to the port of New York City. Once the container arrives to the port of New York City, we've allowed 5 days free time for customs and dredge issues. The container will be picked up and railed 161 kilometers to the distribution center in Allentown over the course of 2 days. Once it arrives to Allentown, we will be able to reach our customers in 1 to 6 days. These parameters make it likely for us to deliver to our customers in 45 to 50 days depending on customer location. Last note to mention here is that we'll need to prioritize any 6-day customer shipping orders at the port of New York City so that containers are picked up in under 4 days in order to reach 50 days from the ordering day. There are 3 major activities that are required to achieve customs compliance. First, we need to be able to correctly classify all goods being imported to the U.S. Doing so will allow us to pay the appropriate amount of duties and taxes. Taxes and duties are based on the product type and value. Next, we will be required to keep accurate import records via EEI or Electronic Export Information filings. Filing an import via EEI will create a record of the shipment in the Customs and Border Patrol database. Lastly, it's important to know where your product is coming from and to whom it is going to. With tables and chairs, it will be important for us to ensure that our Peruvian and Brazilian suppliers have the necessary licenses and sustainability requirements to work with and export to the United States. Partnering with the customs broker is the most important step towards achieving customs compliance. A customs broker can and will act as the liaison with the Customs and Border Patrol to complete paperwork, file the EEI, classify products using the harmonized tariff schedule, pay necessary tariffs and taxes, and assist in ensuring supplier compliance with the U.S. government. It is important to note that the customs broker is merely an advisor and will not take on a decision-making role for our company. Potential partners include FedEx Trade Network, Transamerican, and DHL.
Thanks for watching and listening to our presentation, everyone. Yeah, does anybody have any questions, though? Feel free to direct them to us by email, and if not, thanks again, and on behalf of this team, I would like to say thank you to my teammates and everyone that made this possible. Also, please refer to the reference section for our sources and the appendix for all the important supplementary details that could not fit into the main presentation. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Here are the references that were an integral part of this presentation. Here is the second part of our references. Here is some additional information that could not fit into the main body of our presentation.